What's up, Cerebral football fans? My name is Steven Hyder. This is Gate City Sports Channel. All right, everybody. So today's topic is going to it's in regard to a lot of questions I faced over the last couple of days that basically are talking about what I think about the way that Jordan Davis has been playing over the last couple of weeks. This seems to be coming out from what I saw, because I was like, okay, this caught me a little off guard. I didn't know where the narrative was coming from. The narrative seems to be kind of been brought up by Brian Baldinger, who, Brian knows line work. Like, he was a former offensive lineman, he played with Denver for a long time. Like, Brian Baldinger, he knows what he's talking about when it comes to the trenches. However, I will say this. When I went back to go look at the film from last week's game, I could definitely see some elements of criticism here to where, they played a lot more three technique out of their defensive tackles. And to be honest with you, when I went back and tracked Jordan Davis's snaps as a nose tackle, he only played 23 total snaps. Okay, so the way it worked out is Jalen Carter played 39 snaps. Milton Williams played 33 snaps. Then we had Jordan Davis playing 23 snaps. We had Kentavious Street playing 16 snaps. So that was the snap distribution or allocation, if you will, for the interior defensive linemen. And mind you, we were coming into a game where we knew we were going to have some trouble because we were down Marlon Tuipulotu, who's one of those guys that factors into the rotation at nose tackle, right? We know Jordan Davis is a starter. Then we know that we have kind of a rotation that takes place to give him breath between guys like Marlon Tuipulotu, Jalen Carter, and even Fletch will factor in a little bit to the nose. So that's kind of the way they structure. So we knew right away with Fletch and Marlon down, that's two of your guys kind of removed from the situation, if you will. So I went back and I took a look and I got some data for you. I got some stuff to pull up. And I think the first thing we need to discuss is anytime I'm looking at things like this, I want to see how teams are playing the defensive line. Okay. I want to know what they're doing. Now, I can tell you when you got Fletch down, when you got, multiple defenders down, they're sliding their line. They're sliding their protection toward Jalen Carter. That is one aspect of it in pass situations, right? When they're in pass protection. Now, when they're in run, when they're run blocking, they do tend to slide their line towards Jordan Davis. But I did see some reps on the film where, he did get one-on-one. You could tell that they were supposed to work 2-to-1 towards him, but the guy ended up just not really providing any kind of support at all and climbed to the second level before providing that support. Sometimes it's just they might feel that they have the proper alignment positioning, and that's why they do that. With that said, I want to always go back and I always want to look at what your quarterback's doing on top of that so I can see the protections, what they're doing from a protection standpoint. And then I just want to see, okay, what's the underlying analytics? And then what does the film tell me about the ebb and flow of the game? So I have to start with Matthew Stafford and what I saw on the film from Matthew Stafford. All right, when I'm looking to judge if I'm getting an opportunity to get to the quarterback, if you're under 2.6 seconds, it is incredibly difficult to disrupt the play. Not impossible. I've seen it done in this Eagles defense before because we can really get off the ball fast. But with that said, that's a very obvious concerted effort to not hold the ball when you get guys under 2.5 seconds, right? But with that said, when I start seeing 2.6 seconds or longer, that tells me I have an opportunity as a defense. I have an opportunity as a defense to get the ball out and to make plays, right? I'm providing, the quarterback and that offense is providing the opportunities to get a pass rush home. So when I went to go look there, the first thing I wanted to see was, okay, over time, what was, the average for Matthew Stafford? I use Next Gen Stats. Guys, you can use PFF. There's several databases that track your time to throw stats. I like to rely on Next Gen Stats because, to my knowledge, they use the GPS data that's inside the football that the NFL provides, because Next Gen Stats is a database that's provided by the NFL. So that's why I tend to like them when there's a disagreement, because I just think that the GPS is a little bit more reliable than trying to clock it by eye or tape personally. But I've definitely seen old school guys make a counter argument to that. Matthew Stafford had a 2.67 time to throw in the game. There was clearly opportunity to get to him, but I do want to talk and discuss the ebb and flow. 3 out of our 4 sacks came during the second half of the football game. Okay. We know that they ran like 37 plays or something like that in the second half of that game. All right. Matthew Stafford early on in those first 2 possessions. So if you have access to the All 22, if you have a membership with Game Pass, you have access to the 22. The first defensive possession really takes place between the 6-minute 45 mark to about the 14:09 mark. And then that second defensive possession is right around the 20:28 mark through about the 24:07 mark. If you go look at those 2 opening possessions and you really pay attention, and I'm not sitting here clocking it, guys. I'm not doing all that. But I can look at the route depth. I can see what's going on here. There was a concerted effort in terms of the game plan to get the ball out of their hands. But at some point, you have to fall back into your offense. And in the second half, they fell back into their offense. And we had opportunities to try to get to him because they were trying to get the ball a little bit more vertical in the second half, as opposed to just having Cooper Kupp line up on those slot guys, and Puka line up on those slot guys and then try to, basically option rod them to death. That's kind of what the early strategy was. That's what their game plan was. They knew that we were we were going through some stuff at the nickel cornerback, and our secondary has been very injured. And they tested us early, and the plan was like, don't even let the defensive line become a factor in this game. And I could see that early on, that 2.67, if you broke it down by half, something tells me that second half spiked that number, because the first half, those first two possessions I watched, that ball was coming out. He was getting rid of that ball fast. All right, his aggression rating. So aggression rating just means like how often is this quarterback throwing into tight windows that are 1 yard or less, okay? Meaning there's not a lot of separation from the cornerback. It was 13.3, which was like right in the middle of the pack, 18th out of like 34 quarterbacks that could be measured during the game, during that game. So 13.3 with Stafford. I don't really love the way that we played early on in that game, but I do like the fact that we kind of fell back out of it later on. So, I mean, when you could see that like later on, like we're getting a little bit more pressure home, it's just one of those things, guys, that if you play the game, the saying, and you know that there's validity to the saying. And I want to go check. I think I may have made a mistake here, guys. I want to go check again, because I may have made a mistake. I don't know if I went by week 5 or if I just went by the regular season. Let me go by week 5 and recheck those numbers, because I think I made a mistake here. And I think I just kind of hurried and didn't really go through to check here. So 3, no, that's not the direction I want to go. I went the direction to go here. So 2.0 was 2.37. So yeah, I was definitely wrong. Okay, let's revisit this discussion, guys. I am so sorry. I was wrong on some things. I did that by season totals, and I didn't do that by the actual game. It was not 2.67 seconds. So my eyes were right on the opening possession, that ball was coming out of Matthew Stafford's hands fast. It was 2.45 seconds in week 5. So under 2.5 seconds. So yeah, there's a concerted effort to get the ball out. So when we're talking about guys like Jordan Davis, when we're talking about dudes like this, in terms of like, okay, like how are you grading them? How is PFF grading them? One thing I'll say is it's difficult if a dude's not going to hold the ball. And I had the feeling when I watched those first 2 possessions from our defense, when I was watching Stafford on the field, I was like, man, they're getting that ball out fast. That ball's coming out fast. So I do apologize there, guys. So it's 2.45 seconds by Next Gen Stats figures in terms of week 5, which was the first, second, third. It was the 4th fastest time to throw in the entire NFL. Tua had the fastest at 2.37. Daniel Jones was at 2.41, which was second. Desmond Ridder, 2.43. Then Matthew Stafford, 2.45. Now I want to take a look at that aggression rating. Here we go. This is better. This makes more sense to me. Okay. Aggression rating was not 13.3. That's the season average for Matthew Stafford. His aggression rating in this game was actually 21.6. 21.6. So on 1 out of every 5 throws, to put that in a different phrasing, there was only 1 yard or less of separation from the receivers, which early on, they did get some separation, to be honest, right? And we saw, like, in the first half of that game, like, Darius Slay got caught by Cooper Kupp on a rocker step. But you could see throughout the game, it got better. They tightened up that coverage, and you could definitely tell it was getting harder and harder for them. So now these figures are making a little bit more sense to me, because that's a major difference. Let me see where that ranked in terms of how, aggressive he played in week 5 compared to the rest of the league. So Kenny Pickett led the league at 40.6. Let's see. Kirk Cousins, Mac Jones. Hang on. Something ain't making sense with this. It's not pulling up correctly. All right. Joe Burrow didn't even qualify for the aggression rating for whatever reason. So let me scroll down to the very bottom of the list. All right. Kenny Pickett was at 40.6. Mac Jones, Matthew Stafford. Where was he at? All right. I don't even see him listed here, guys. So I'm just going to keep rolling, because I honestly don't even see this dude listed for whatever reason. It's not listing him. Why is it not listing him? This is what I hate about, like, some of these databases. They're not always the best in the world. Jalen Hurts was at 7.9%. Zach Wilson, Jordan Love, Dak Prescott. Sorry, guys. It's just not Matthew Stafford. There we go. 21.6% was 1, 2, 3. He was 4th. So Ball placement. That's something I'm going to show you on the film that I saw, guys, is that we had opportunities. On the first two possessions, the first possession, we had an opportunity to shut down a touchdown. Justin Evans, if he plays the ball instead of playing the receiver, there's a pick opportunity there. There's an opportunity. I can never say that like 100% he's picking that ball. We don't know that. But the opportunity was present in the red zone on that first drive to have walked away with an interception, a turnover, and to stop the progression of points there. And then on the second possession, you guys saw this one. It's the overthrow from Stafford, where Stafford kind of just misses the ball placement a little bit, and it kind of sails. And it's been a tough play for Justin Evans, but Justin Evans was in the picture, and there was a chance. I mean, there was definitely a chance we could have walked away with the second pick on consecutive possession. So that aggression rating makes a little bit more sense compared to what I was seeing on the film now. It's just like, yeah, it wasn't making a lot of sticks to me. Now, air yards to the stick is the third thing I would check. So the things I like to check, guys, simply put, is number one, I like to see the time to throw. Number two, I like to see the aggression marking. And then number three, I like to see the air yards to the stick. So explaining the air yards to the stick and what that means. That's on average, how close are you putting the ball close to the first down marker? Okay. So generally speaking, you'll get aggressive quarterbacks that'll be above the marker there, but most quarterbacks are right in and around the marker, either plus 0.5 to negative 0.5, I'd say, is where like the vast majority of dudes are going to fall in when it comes to the air yards to the stick measurement. So let's take a look at week 5, and let's see where everybody falls in here. I felt like he didn't push the ball as much early in the game, but I felt like he really was pushing the ball late in the game. So Dak had the highest air yards to the sticks. I know that's kind of funny. In week 5 at 3. So I'm going to take a look. Matthew Stafford was exactly 1. So there was some opportunity in the second half of the game, which gave us the sack count, to be honest with you. Early in the game, we weren't getting those opportunities to get home with the pressure. And I think that's a big part of it, right? Jordan Davis plays 8 snaps as a nose tackle. He ends up playing 15 as a defensive right tackle. Matthew Stafford ended up being 21 of 37 on the day. He threw for 222 yards because of the sack yardage and stuff like that, though, guys. It actually gets reduced down to 195 yards, is what the defense accounted for in terms of what it gave up. The offense only ended up with 249 total yards. So the Rams were held only 250 total yards. Only held the ball for 22 minutes of clock, 22:05, and only ran 55 offensive plays, which anything under 60 is not good. It means you certainly got held at bay. Like, unless you put up a lot of points and you were just explosive, you got held at bay. If you're under 20 points, if you're under 20, if you're under 30 minutes of offensive possession, and then you're also under 60 plays, that's it's not always, sometimes you got to look into the inner details even in between that. But obviously we can see right away that the defense did its job here. Like, the Rams had reason to be fearful, even with us being down. Marlon Tuipulotu and Fletcher Cox, to fear what this defense did. I want to get into what I saw on the tape, guys. The first thing I'll tell you is this. Pay attention to what we did at nose tackle, because it's unique. Look at all the little variations we did. But the line change. Guys, the line change. It was like NASCAR out there, guys. The amount, or not NASCAR, but like hockey out there with the amount of line changes we were doing. I mean, it was nuts to see like everything that was going on from that perspective. Like, they open up the game with, Reddick, Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, and then Josh Sweat as your starting defensive line, right? But I mean, they had like 2A and 2Bs. There was a third line. I mean, there was a lot going on here, guys. I mean, to be simply put, they had like a Reddick and BG, Brandon Graham combination. They had BG and Derek Barnett combinations on the edges. I mean, they had like a 2A of like Jalen Carter and Milton Williams. And they had a 2B of Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. They had a 3, which was like Street and Jalen Carter. And like the line changes were pretty crazy, guys. There's a lot of line changes in this game. All right, y'all. Let's get to the tape. Let's take a look at what we got here. So video file. Just got to make sure that it's the right one, because it's easy to pull the highlights instead of the actual film. No, don't want that one. Here we go, guys. How the Eagles treated the nose alignment. All right. You can see right here, we're not even really playing a nose. I mean, you just basically got 2 3-techs in there. Starting lineup was left defensive end Reddick. You had Milton Williams. Jordan Davis was kind of in like a 2-eye almost there. Do you see how they had Morrow up on the line of scrimmage there, standing up over the top of the nose? So they're flexing those guys out, right? It's really playing 2-3 tackles, but they brought the mic up into the A gap. Now we got a true, kind of nose tackle, rep from Jordan Davis. It's the third play in the game. They put Jordan Davis in a zero tech, Sweat's inside, and Zach Cunningham will be the jack linebacker or like the overhang that was on that play. All right, over here, we can see actually your interior guy is Kentavious Street on that rep. Kentavious Street's kind of playing a 2-eye. He's on the inside shoulder of that guard, that left guard. Or that's the right guard, actually. Sorry, guys. On this rep, we will see Nick Morrow over the top of the A-gap again. So kind of this look again where you get Nick Morrow over the A-gap, then he kind of backs out of it. And I do have this slowed down a little bit, guys, just for reference here. Jalen Carter is in a 2-eye/1 technique. Milton is 3-tech. See Jalen Carter up there. All right, this time Brandon Graham is the 1-tech/2-eye, depending on how you want to look at it. Street and Carter, you see Brandon Graham. Look at this. Man, Brandon Graham has got some grown man strength, bro. On the real. If Justin Evans plays the ball, there is a chance for a pick there. Pick here, I should say. So watch it. Look at Justin Evans. Man, if he plays that ball instead of the receiver, there's a chance there. Man, BG got that grown, you know what, man, strength. Here's BG on a second rep at the nose. I mean, BG's a great player, bro. They played him all over. Back in our 50 front with another line shift. Really difficult to keep up with all these shifts. So now we got Jalen Carter playing as the left defensive tackle. Jordan Davis was on the nose. Here's our 50 front with the defense, with Derek Barnett inside and Zach Cunningham. It's kind of a jack linebacker on that outside. On this rep, they put Nolan Smith on the outside shoulder of the right guard, and then they drop him at the snap. So Nolan Smith drops. I think Jalen Carter was your nose tackle on that play. Another opportunity for an INT, but it just fell a little short, basically, guys. So as I was watching this, man, I was like, bro, like they're doing some unique things defensively. I got to give credit to Sean Desai because look, we just signed a dude and Bradley Roby to come in and play nickel, right? You got two young guys that are factoring into the rotation at nickel, and Eli Ricks, who's probably not a natural nickel, to be fair. You got Mario Goodrich, and then you have the veteran guy who just walked into your building a couple of days ago in Bradley Roby. Then you're also down on your interior defensive line, man. You were down Marlon Tuipulotu. You were down Fletcher Cox, and, man, I thought he got creative and, I thought they got some stuff off of these, man. I thought they were really unique in what they were doing. I love the fact that they would play those 3 techniques. So they would take both their interior defense linemen, put them out there in a 3 technique, and they would walk that mic right down to hold them. Because what that does, it holds the blocks. So you can't easily slide protection like that. Smart idea. Then you can drop him back into the middle of the zone. You saw them do things like that. I saw they'll play a traditional nose. So they'll put like Jalen Carter or Jordan Davis or somebody at the nose, right? And then you'll see they'll take their linebacker, Zach Cunningham, who's going to be more of the guy that they'll use kind of in that. He's playing a lot of like what we saw last year from Gannon when Gannon would take in he would use Kaiser White in this role to where he would play him as an overhang, or if it's on the weak side, you can call it a jack linebacker if it's over towards the weak side. So they kind of use him in that role as well. I see that going on with the defense. They were moving Jalen Carter up in there. I mean, the way they were playing these defensive ends was very unique. Jalen Carter was standing up over like the C gap or B gap, and they would drop him out into coverage. You saw, as my guy, I can see EZ's comment because it's the last one on the bottom of the screen right now. You saw them take and put Brandon Graham over top of the center, whether they're playing him as like a 1 technique, if you want to look at it, if you want to say he's on the inside shoulder of the center, if you want to say it's a 2-eye and he's on the inside shoulder of the guard. It's really hard to tell sometimes from the angles. Sometimes I need a better angle to be specific in what I'm saying. When I'm saying this, guys, just know anything between a 2-eye and a 0-tech. So 2-eye, 1-eye into like a 0 or a shade. That's a nose tackle, guys. That's what we're discussing. All right, guys, let's get into some comments and let's have a discussion here. Some Black Ninja said, "Good morning, Coach Gates, the GOAT. Let's talk about it. Fly, Eagles, fly." Spa City, what's up, man? How you doing? Antonio, what's good, brother? Tyree said, "Go Birds." I mean, good morning. What's up, man? Distro, what's up, man? Lit City, what's good, bro? What's up, Venom Revenge? What's up, Unspoken? Domination. We have a chance to be different. Yeah. A little bit of brother. What's up, Easy? How you doing, man? That mean we gotta get in the quicker then. Yeah, we gotta get in quicker. Yeah, they're adjusting to us. They're clearly adjusting to the personnel that we have defensively because they know how good our defensive line is. They're sliding protections, and it's very obvious. You like when you watch 22, you can almost predict exactly where the protection is going to get slid. It's pretty obvious. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, like they knew we were going to slide our protection to Aaron Donald. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a little bit of both sides to that. True Savage, what's good, man? Xavier Boone, what's up, man? How you doing? He said, greeting, Coach Steve from Philly. What's up, man? EEZ said, we need to experiment more with BG inside on pass rush situations. He will expose those one-on-ones he gets from Carter. Yeah, I like the way they were doing that, Easy. I really like the rotation they had there when they were going into these modified, like, kind of 50 fronts, and the way that they were playing BG and they were playing these defensive ends, because they did a lot of unique things, man. I mean, we had everybody playing the nose from Brandon Graham to, you know, Jalen Carter to obviously Jordan Davis being our natural nose tackle. I mean, like everywhere. I mean, we were just playing things everywhere. I mean, Kentavious Street. And the funny thing is like I go look at PFF, and PFF isn't even accounting for some of these. Like sometimes PFF doesn't account the 2-eye as a nose snap, which is it's a little frustrating, but that's why I don't trust those databases easy completely. What's up, Michael? How you doing? Easy said, I like the size innovations with the D-line. Usually Fangio guys use generic fronts. Some Black Ninja said, I think Swift will have a day against the Jets defense. We just got to play with that D gives us. Yeah, I think it's Swift, and I think it's going to be Devontae's day. I think those are the two guys, man. I think those are the guys that you got to watch out for. That's the feeling I get, too, is that normally when one guy kind of lags in a game and he gets a little upset, you know the ball's coming his way the next game. Like, they're going to do some stuff design-wise to get him there, especially, you know, if Sauce Gardner is completely on A.J. Brown. If they're just following A.J. Brown with Sauce Gardner, yeah, I think Devontae and I think Swift are going to be the two guys that are going to have pretty big days. Reset, get them likes up, man. Appreciate you. Spa said, he said, all good this morning, my brother. Taking notes in Gates' class. Appreciate y'all, man. Appreciate y'all. He said, Dizzle Drizzle said, are they putting Dean for Cunningham? They can't take Murrow out. He's balling. I don't know, Dizzle Drizzle. I can't say, man, because like the thing is if you weigh on these type of situations, man, it feels like you're dissing your own players, and I don't really want to get involved in that, man. Just as long as whatever they do works, I don't care. I think we're in a good situation at linebacker. If I had to take a wild guess, if Nakobe Dean is 100% up to speed, and I don't know that that's true, Dizzle Drizzle. I don't know that's true. I mean, I know he got cleared. You know, he's been brought back. He was in practice, but I don't know if he's 100% yet. So, I mean, it wouldn't shock me if he dresses but doesn't play for a week or two still. I mean, that wouldn't shock me. It just depends on the nature of that foot injury. You know, a foot injury is a very vague statement. You know what I mean, Dizzle Drizzle? So I don't know exactly what happened with the foot. Now, if he's 100% back, I would probably take a guess that it's going to really come down to what I stated this last couple of days, guys, how they feel about the green dot of play calling. Do they want to take that burden off of Reed Blankenship to allow him to play a little bit more freely? Because if you do that, then it's either going to be Morrow is going to get that green dot, or it's going to be the way that you conceive the defense from its inception, which is going to be they're going to play Nakobe at the mic. He's going to be the green dot of play calling. And then I would probably take a guess if he's your green dot of play calling, that means that rotation is going to be at the weak side, the will. So you'll be rotating Zach and Nicholas Morrow, you know, Zach Cunningham and Nicholas Morrow, depending upon pass situations versus run situations, stuff like that. It just depends, man. I mean, I don't want to make assumptions that Nakobe Dean's 100%, man, because that foot injury is a very vague statement. You know what I mean? I don't know exactly what the nature of the foot injury is. What's up, Ian? He said, good morning, Gate. So what exactly do we call this defensive scheme? It's in the conception of a Vic Fangio scheme. I mean, it's still Vic Fangio's scheme, but there are adaptations to it. Everybody's a little different, right? I will say that he normally gives you a quarters look most of the time pre-snap, but it's, you know, just because you give a quarters look doesn't mean that's what you're going to play. That's why people like to start off with quarters, because from quarters, you can pretty much go from quarters and then go to any coverage you want. You know, quarters is just really meant to play with the eyes. I will say that Vic Fangio, I see a lot more of cover 6 and cover 8. So like quarter, half. Basically that half side changes depending upon if you're playing it towards the strong side or weak side of the formation will dictate if it's cover 6 or cover 8. But when I look at Sean Desai, I'm not saying he never plays cover 6, because I haven't sat there and tracked every coverage on across every snap. That'd be crazy to make that statement without knowing that. But I see more normally when I'm watching and I'm paying attention, I see a little bit more cover 3. So I see they'll give you like this kind of quarters or cover 2 or just too high safety look, and then they'll kind of rotate into like a cover 3. It's kind of the rotation they give you. So, it's probably, guys take things from everywhere, right? I mean, he was very, very closely, he stood close by, Vic Fangio when they were in Chicago, but he had time with Pete Carroll and those guys in Seattle too. So I don't know. I mean, I think he's got his own little wrinkles that are a little different. He's definitely different from Gannon. There's some similarities with Gannon's scheme. It's not drastically apart from one another, but there's definitely some wrinkles here and there that are different. I will say that the way that we bring 5-man pressures this season is way different from the way we brought 5-man pressures last season. I would even say that most of the 5-man pressures we brought last season were a lie because it was just a 5-man front. It wasn't really a blitz. You're not bringing an extra guy than what you originally showed the offense. You showed the offense 5 down linemen. Some Black Ninja said, do you think the Jets will shadow whoever has the hot hand with Sauce? It's possible, Some Black Ninja. Either that or they're just going to go up and say, look, A.J. Brown's had 3 straight 100-yard receiving games. Like, that's the dude that we're shadowing. So, I mean, it's possible. They could play the hot hand, or they could just say, like, yeah, the minute we pull off of A.J. Brown, the dude's going to go off of us. So we're just going to make sure that doesn't happen. And we'll try to bracket or do what we got to do on the opposite side to help out with, Devontae Smith. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I'm hoping that Devontae has that big game because I do get the feeling that a lot of the attention is going to go towards A.J. Brown. We use Swift too much. Don't forget he's injury prone. I want Scott. You want Boston Scott? I want him in the red zone in a 2-minute offense. I think that's where Boston Scott would be really good. Desi getting funky out there with them rotations. He really is, Kelly Green. He really is. I mean, he's doing some pretty unique things from the defensive line. Like when I was like sitting there watching it, I kept like making note after note. I was making note after note, like, yo, man, like what is going on with these rotations? These rotations are different from what I was expecting. Like, I definitely noticed there's some different things going on from a rotational standpoint with the defense. So I was like, this is kind of cool, man. This is not something I expected. And I like the way that he didn't just shy away. He could have just played some base stuff and said, look, we've got to beat these guys through our base because we don't have the personnel, man. We're dealing with injuries. He was like, nah, man, I'm going to get creative. I like that. I like that he did that. Deng says he thinks that Swift is being used correctly. Antonio said, man, I like Dean, but Morrow has earned his spot on the field, not in the draft. We'll see what they do, guys. I mean, we'll see what they do. Dank said, are you able to see how many snaps Ricks played outside? I mean, yeah, Dank, I can look it up for you real quick. I mean, I just got to go to PFF and pull him up. But so Eli Ricks, let's see. You want to know for his season totals? So season totals, he's played 14 snaps at slot because 13 of those came last week. And outside, he has not played a single snap as an outside corner according to PFF yet. He's been on the kick coverage team for special teams, the kick return team for special teams, and the punt return team for special teams. But all 14 of his snaps on the actual defense have come as a slot corner. He had 1 snap in week 2 as a slot corner and 13 in week 5. It's according to PFF. Easy said Bills lost their 3-star players for the season. That matchup got a lot easier. Yeah, I always hate when injuries interfere with games, but I mean, as a fan, I'll take the path. You know what I mean? I'll take the path that they hand me. But it sucks when you got a team that, like, you know what I'm saying, that probably is a decent football team. They start losing pivotal members of their team. Easy said, you think they plan to hire Patricia when Desai becomes head coach? Nick is very high on him. We did something similar with Fangio until Gannon messed up that process. Easy. That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, you can't overlook it, Easy. You can't overlook it. He's there for a consulting role. I don't know. I really can't say, Easy. I mean, you definitely knew that they wanted Fangio. So, I mean, you definitely got to pay attention to what they're showing you. That damn Davis boy said there was a Nolan Smith sighting that had him in the A gap, but pulled him out in coverage to defend against the stacked trips teams. have been running against us with success. Yeah. Nolan Smith has actually been playing a little bit. They do use him, but it's what I said in the offseason, guys. When everybody was asking me about it, I said, I fear that they're going to lean into the experienced hands of guys like Derek Barnett because, number one, they want to keep them happy with the snap count. But number two, we tend to have a preference towards like playing the veteran guys over the younger guys, even if the younger guys probably are a little bit more explosive and are probably a better player at this stage. I'm not throwing shade at Derek Barnett. I think Derek Barnett's better than what most people think, but Derek Barnett's not a starter. You know what I mean? Like, I really think that when you spend a first-round pick on an edge defender, an edge player, he should definitely be part of that second-line rotation. It should be BG in him. That should be your 2A. It should be Brandon Graham and Nolan Smith, in my opinion. But, you know, I don't set those rotations, guys. So some Black Ninja say, what do you think of the Jets' second-string corner, Michael Carter II, guarding Devontae Smith? I'll take that matchup. Michael Carter. I'm not trying to throw shade at Michael Carter because I think he is better than what a lot of people realize. But I'll take that matchup. I'll take Devontae on that matchup all day, especially if they don't lend him help. Thanks. Okay, I thought he was on the Tutu Atwell incompletion. AFC is overrated anyway. Daryl said, keep doing this. It will grow your business. Excellent. Hey, I appreciate you, Daryl. Eagles fan said, I don't like the way they're using Nolan Smith. It's not that I don't like the way they're using Nolan Smith. I don't like the allocation of snaps or the lack in allocation of snaps to Nolan Smith, Eagles fan. I like the way they use him. I love the fact that you got a physical, athletic player it's tough, man, because you're going to drop him. You're going to drop him. You're going to drop him. One day, someone's going to think, oh, he's just dropping. And then all of a sudden, Nolan Smith's going to be coming through. So, I mean, I like the way they're using him. I just don't think they're using him enough. I think that the young man should be getting more snaps. I think that we need to be mindful of making sure we're developing these younger players. You know, it's tough because you got a competitive team. I understand why they like to play the veterans, because when you got a competitive team that you think is capable of winning a number one seed and being a Super Bowl contender, there's definitely a balance here, right? But, man, I thought that they've done some disservices at times with things. And, like, you know, like last season when we had those big leads and we weren't playing the Kobe Dean, it was like, dude, what are we doing? Like, man, when you've got 2-3 score leads, get the young guys in the game. Like, number one, let's mitigate against injury. But number two, let's make sure we get these guys some experience. Miss Ash, what's up? How you doing? She said, good morning, gang. Easy said, they use Nolan as a joker. He doesn't have the power or technique to play edge full time. It'd be interesting to see how they do that translation, right? Because they do play Hassan down. I don't want to give the instance easy, like as if they don't ever play Hassan with his hands in the dirt, because I do see it on tape. I see him every now and then with his hands in the dirt. But I do think that Nolan is more of that Hassan role, right? He's a little bit more of that Hassan role. I think they're trying to find unique ways of getting these guys on the field, right? They want to get BG on the field. And they found a lot of ways. I wonder what Brandon Graham's snap count was, because, man, those first two possessions, Brandon Graham was on the field a lot in the opening two possessions. I mean, he played a ton in those opening possessions. Let me take a look real quick, guys, because he was one of the guys I kept seeing on the film all over the place. They played him as a joker. They played him with his hands down in the dirt. They played him up on the nose tackle. Like, he only played 18 snaps. That's crazy. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. He played 18 snaps on the D-line. Let me make sure I'm not overlooking something, guys. That's interesting. I got to go back and look at some tape, guys, but in week 1, Brandon Graham actually had a snap that got counted as the slot corner on the inside right. And then in week 3, he had a snap as a wide corner. Actually, I want to see those snaps because that's different. That's different. I want to see that. But I wonder if PFF is just making a mistake there. I thought Brandon Graham played more than that, just given how often I saw him in the game on those first two possessions. But it says only 18 snaps. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, he was a rotation guy. Kentavious Street 16, Brandon Graham 18. Let's see. We should probably look that up, guys. Let's take a look and see these reserve guys. How much did they play them? So we said, what did we say, guys? 18 for BG, right? So BG had 18. Let's take a look at Nolan Smith. How much Nolan Smith got in the game. I didn't notice Nolan Smith that much. I'm going to say it was 10 or under. I don't think he played that much, to be real. Yeah, he played six snaps along the D-line, 2 snaps in the box, so that's 8. And then he was on kick. He was on special teams. So Nolan had about eight snaps in that game. Nolan Smith did. And then Derek Barnett. You guys kind of surprised that Patrick Johnson doesn't seem to be playing at all? All right. Derek Barnett, 13 as a D lineman. Yeah, he only played down as a D lineman. So, and then Derek Barnett, 13. So you can see right from the snap count, right? BG, 18 snaps. Derek Barnett, 13 snaps. Nolan Smith, 8 snaps. I don't know, man. I don't want to say things, bro, because I don't want to come at players. I wish Derek Barnett luck. You know, I want Derek Barnett to do good when he's in games. But it does concern me that Nolan Smith is getting under 10 snaps a game. I'm not a big fan of that, that snap distribution, to be honest about it. I kind of like to see Nolan Smith get used a little bit more than that. I get it's early in the season. He's young. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's the way that things are going to work out as the season progresses. I get that, but yeah, so he's played 6 snaps plus 2, 8. Played 9 snaps in week 4. Played only 6 snaps in week 3. Played 6 snaps in week 2. Then he played 12 snaps in week 1, where they kind of use them all over the place, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, the rotation's a rotation. What can you do? Yeah, I'm a little surprised that Patrick Johnson's not seeing the field, guys, at all. I mean, I thought that he was I thought he was decent when he was getting in games. I know he had the injury, so I'm not sure what happened. Let me take a look and see if if he logged any snaps yet. Special teams. He's been on kick coverage, kick return, punt coverage, punt return, field goal, and extra point block team. So he's a core member of the special teams unit, but not really logging any snaps in game at alignment. Huh. Yeah. That damn Davis boy said, put on your GM hat. Who would target before the trade deadline? Who would we target before the trade deadline? I think if you can get help at the safety position and you can get it at the right cost, I don't know what the name is. I mean, like, we know the big names, the Buda Bakers. There's some big names out there at the safety market. The young Simmons from Denver. Like, there's some big names out there, but just somebody that could give you more quality reps there. I could see that happening. I don't know how they feel about like edge. We're looking at the rotation, and I mean, to be fair, BG's your third guy. He's getting 18. Nolan's getting 8 as the 5th guy. Derek Barnett's getting 13 as the 4th guy. I don't know how much emphasis we should probably put on the edge, but I just know the Eagles, and the Eagles will go after edge players if they can get them. They feel like they can take you at edge. They're going to take you at edge. You know what I mean? Like, they'll go for a player along that area. I do wonder about interior defensive line, right? Love Milton. Love Jalen Carter. Love Jordan Davis. Love that future of those 3 guys, right? Marlon Tuipulotu's making me think like there could be something there, but we don't know. He's still a little bit of a question mark, to be honest. A lot of injury concern with Marlon, to be fair. Contavious Street's probably a 1-year solution. Would love to see the young guy get involved and to see them to play some of these guys a little bit. I look at it and I say, okay, after Fletch, if Fletch leaves next year, I don't know if Fletch is leaving next year. I should probably preface that a little bit and say, I don't know if he's leaving next year. But if Fletch leaves next year, I do wonder about the depth. I know we got, Jalen Carter is going to be a stud in this league. I have no doubt about that, saying that. I think Jordan Davis, I think, is going to be pretty good, right? I think he's really good at his assignment. I think there's a little bit more to the upside to his pass rush than I think a lot of us initially thought, but I don't think he's going to be special as a pass rusher, especially early on in his career. Like, I don't think you're going to see Dexter Lawrence type production this year or next year in terms of being able to be a pass rusher. You know what I mean? Like, I think that could take time. Even as explosive as he has to learn technique in the pass rush game, to be real. Milton Williams is the guy that interests me in terms of like the pass rush aspect. In terms of, is there some room to grow there? So like interior defensive line is an area that, depending on how they see things past the season, I would love to see what they do there. Moro Jamo definitely factors in until next year. We should probably look and see if Moro Jamo I think he did get snaps. I thought I saw him on the film, actually. Let me make sure. I thought he did get some snaps. I thought I saw him a couple times. Yeah, he got 4 snaps, actually. I mean, Ajamo played about half the amount of snaps that Nolan Smith played. And that was his first line. That was his first action of the season. I know, guys. Chill out. Yeah, Gate, they only had 4 active defensive tackles for the game. They got like 6 edge players. I get it, but you get what I'm saying. Like, They're criminally underusing Nolan Smith, in my opinion. JD Coach said, "What's up, Gate? I'd like to see some Nolan Smith on some stunts." Yes, they're doing some stunt action actually on the film. I saw him do a few stunts. I was like, oh, okay, like, yeah, that's kind of crazy. Dank said 8 is just not enough. It's not enough snaps for Nolan Smith. All of Barnett's snaps should go to Smith. Patrick Johnson not playing at all makes 0 sense. Antonio, I actually liked him, man. I think he's a dang good run defender, too, on the edge. I think Patrick Johnson surprisingly was better at that than I thought. I thought he started to develop. He's not like a crazy effective pass rusher. I'm not trying to mislead anybody here, but I thought he was developing. You know, I thought the rumors and the things we were hearing coming out of camp said that he was building upon that 22 season and he was looking good prior to the injury. I mean, I like Patrick Johnson, man. I wish that he got a little bit more consideration too. What's up, John? He said Barnett had plenty of time to prove who he is, and he has. He's a jag. Give Nolan more snaps. Easy said that's the downside of guys like Desai coming here. He knows it short term, so he always goes with the vets. He doesn't care about developing guys. That's a fair point, Easy, that if you don't plan on being here for more than, 3 years, at most, if you're saying like, oh, within 3 years, I won't be here, I'll be somewhere else, then you probably are going to try to do the best you can to paint yourself in the best light for those 3 years. And that may not include developing. That's true. There is something to that. I agree. But that's where the front office and like Nick's got to step in a little bit. You know what I mean? Like there's a balancing act to it, Easy. You know as well as I do. There's a balancing act. Like we can't get too cute about player development when we're in the hunt, trying to undefeated team fighting for the number 1 seed in the NFC with another undefeated team in San Fran. And, we're trying to make those heads. There's definitely not trying to get too cute with it, but in the same breath, man, I'm with you. Like there's something to that statement. Antonio said Burns. You think Burns from Carolina? Yeah. Moro Jamo. I like Moro Jamo, man. I was pretty big on his film. I thought Ajamo was a really good run defender for what he was. And I thought there's a little upside to him as a pass rusher. But yeah, I mean, that 34.5-inch, arm reach with that freaking crazy wingspan that young man has, that dude could be an impactful run defender if he really develops. Like he's got some, he could be that guy a couple of years from now that's kind of playing that Marlon Tuipulotu role, if you will, to where, he's not like a 300, 305, 310. I don't know if he can build that up. I'm not that kind of guy to talk about building your body stature like that. But I will say that, physically, he can play with a lot of leverage. He can play with a lot of length in that run game. It's probably more of a 3 technique than a guy that you're going to kick a whole lot on the inside. But, it's like a 2-eye or a 0. But still, I mean, he's a guy that I think there's some upside to. Dang said Carter, Davis, Milton, and Marlon. Yeah, I think that's the way they look at it, too, with the Jamo coming up the back end to hold that. But I wouldn't be shocked if they still don't look Dank and say, like, if there's opportunity, if they don't jump on somebody. We've seen them kind of do that a few times to where they'll not like a big name. I'm not talking about big names, Dank. I think they look at those guys that they could probably sneak from another team. Ajamo Marlin will fill the Street and Barnett spots next year. Michael said Cox is still playing at a high level. I think he'll stay even if he's got to take a pay cut. I think he will be here. I mean, I'm not in any hurry to let Fletch go. I mean, to be fair, I think Fletch is still a really good football player. Look, if you can get him into a way to where he's into a rotation and his snaps are coming down. I think the days of Fletch playing like 70 snaps defensively, I'm not going to say those days are over because it's out of my control, but those days should be over. Like we should be, limiting the snap count of Fletch to keep him effective. We still know that if you keep Fletch effective, you keep Fletch to where he's ready for the game. Hey man, that dude can get after it on third down and run defense. That dude can get after it on pass rush situations. Like when you got a stud already in Jalen Carter, you got a guy that's already developing in Jordan Davis. I mean, I wouldn't hate him coming back. I'll be honest, Michael. I'd like to see him stick as long as he's effective, to be real. Easy said, I'm not sure Milton will be here when his contract comes up, especially with Jalen's cap hit soon. Maybe. I mean, we'll see. Easy. They value interior defensive linemen. So if there's anyone that they're going to probably figure out how to work some things around, I would think that they'll find it there. It's just going to be probably a matter of the way that other front offices view Milton Williams, right? If other front offices view him as a potential impact player, the way that we viewed, a guy like going back to the 2020 offseason, right? The way we viewed Javon Hargrave. Pittsburgh probably would have liked to have him back, but there was a limit to what they were going to spend on him. But we saw him as someone that could potentially be impactful, especially the fact that we were going to play him differently than the way that Pittsburgh was playing him. Mr. Sam has said Jordan Davis is built like an offensive tackle with the athleticism of a fast defensive tackle. His height helps and hurts him. Long arms with a high center of gravity. Stony Hawk said these past couple of years, it's hard to get worried about depth when you know Howie will do his thing. Yeah, we still got picks. We still got quite a few draft picks too. Dank said Jordan Davis plays surprisingly low for his size. Sometimes he can get a little high sometimes, Dank. I'm not going to lie. I've caught him a few times where he's definitely a little upright, to be honest. But I mean, when you're 6'6", you're going to get a little high. It's almost impossible not to be. You're 6'6". You know what I'm saying? Like, pretty hard for a 6'6" guy to condense down to 6'2". Easy said we need stability at defensive coordinator. No more revolving doors with these young upcoming guys like Gannon, Desai that immediately leave. Meh. I mean, if we're having success with it, you know what I mean? Like, Dang said he's played a lot lower this year. That damn Davis boy said, do you think Barnett is being showcased for a late second trade piece? He's getting an awful lot of snaps for ineffective play. Potentially. I think it's possible. It's possible they could attach him to a trade to try to upgrade a different position. It's possible. I mean, I don't know. I'm not in the front office. You know what I mean? So I can't say, 100%. But I think that there's some reason to think that, like, hey, they want to give him a certain percentage of snaps because if you are trying to move him, Barnett has expressed that he wants to be moved. You know what I mean? But it's hard to say. Jay, what's up, buddy? He says, how much would we save trading Barnett? I don't really think it's about the savings because I don't think it's a significant savings, to be honest. Because, obviously, if you trade him halfway through the season, you're already paid half of the contract anyways. So even if you do get some cap relief, it's not going to be that much if you're trading at the deadline, right at the deadline, I should say. With that said, I mean, I think it's more so about the fact that you got a guy that the front office likes. They like him. He wants more opportunity. You know what I mean? There's probably going to be more opportunity afforded to him in other places. And it's just a matter of probably trying to build interest up around him. I think for him, he's going to have to wait for some kind of injury to occur. I don't know that there's anywhere for him to just go right now. I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I don't know that there's a move for him to go as like a primary guy. I mean, he could find a spot as a third. He's like the main guy off the bench potentially with another organization, but I don't know that there's a lot of opportunity to be one of the two starting edges on other teams without an injury occurring. So, I mean, Easy said, I will admit, Desai was a panic move after the Gannon incident. Dizzle said, Gates, Broncos might shot Patrick Surtain before the deadline. Would you throw a player, a second, and maybe a fourth? I think he would boost the secondary to elite. Patrick Surtain he's a really good football player. He's young. You're going to have to pay him. You already got two guys under contract, though. That's going to be your problem. I don't know that they would make the move, but I mean, if that was being dangled in front of me, I probably would, and I'd figure out the consequences and how to play these three guys together. But I mean, that's just really just securing the talent. I don't think that we'll be in the running for it, though, if I'm being honest, Dizzle. I'd be shocked if we were. Some Black Ninja said, should we go for Queen at the trade deadline? So about Patrick Queen, I mean, I don't know who will be sellers in the market. You know what I'm saying? I think Baltimore probably won't be sellers, but I mean, maybe if there's some kind of disturbance in the inner locker room that we don't know about, some Black Ninja, and Queen wants out of there, he doesn't like the role. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think our linebackers have been that bad, though, to be honest with you. I mean, I still think you can upgrade. I think there are definitely upgrades, but I feel pretty dang confident with the four being Nakobe Dean, Nicholas Morrow, Zach Cunningham, and Christian Ellis. I think we have a pretty decent four-man rotation at linebacker right now. Like, I actually think we got really fortunate. I think we got lucky as crap, and I think Howie, he hit on a couple of these guys. He hit on Nicholas Morrow, and he hit on Zach Cunningham. Like, don't get me wrong, the defensive line is why we're having so much success. Like, I'm not trying to get that twisted. That fact is true. The defensive line is a huge reason why these linebackers are being so successful. But they're still being successful, and that can't be removed from the conversation, too. Dang said Desai was like our 7th option. Daryl says Nolan reminds me of Darren Woodson with his size and speed. He would be a tear in the back end. What's up, Eagles fan? Easy says, still don't understand the Ringo pick, 4th rounder with no snaps getting outplayed by UDFAs. How many corners with bad hips become good? I think they look at the elite athleticism traits he has and just the raw aspect of the product, and I don't think they want him on the field yet. I think he's going to eventually play over those guys, if I'm going to be real with you. I just don't know when. I don't know if it'll be this season. I think he'll get his opportunity. Now, the facts are, is once you get your opportunity, if you get beat out, then the discussion is going to get difficult. It's going to get different, right? Then you're going to have to probably look at changing alignment, or you're going to, it's going to spin in a different direction if that happens. But they're going to give him that grace period for a year, I guarantee you. Red Eagle said, if we have another good draft this year, it should give us space to keep core players like Milton Williams. Easy said, I think Morrow is going to be groomed for that 3rd defensive tackle role and use that cap space on other positions. And we like to dump money into the defensive line, though, man. Ringo just turned 21. He will yeah, he's very young. That's very true, Daryl. He's a very young player. Are you really getting Surtain to just play slot? I don't think Surtain would even be a slot. I guess you could play him that way, Dank, but I would think that you'd have to play him outside. But you're right. I mean, then who plays slot? Do you bounce Slay in the slot? Because Slay has the hips to play slot, even at his age, but he's just not, Slay's not tough. So in the run game, that's going to be a problem. Like, I don't mean to throw shade at Slay. Slay's one of my favorite players, but I don't know that Slay's a natural fit for those run fits from that position, to be fair. Bradbury's not a slot, man. It's just not what he is. Yeah, I think you run into that same problem, Dank, that you would have to figure out how the heck are you going to play these 3 guys together. Michael said, good morning, Coach. What's up, man? What did I miss, guys? We're talking to defensive line rotation, some of the stuff coming up in free agency and the trade deadline. That damn Davis boy said, I've been a Quez guy since college, but McCole Hardman would really check a nice box for the Eagles. Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly why McCole Hardman's name is popping up. I'm not too sure what the situation is there and why he's not being utilized where he's at. But, I mean, McCole Hardman is not going to be like some kind of drastic step backwards. That's for sure. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that we wouldn't get better because I think we probably would. McCole Hardman's got a lot of speed. I think McCole Hardman, you can make the argument, is still not really naturally a slot, but I think he's a heck of a lot more natural in the movement ability than Quez is a slot. So I think he's going to fit that slot role better. I think Quez is really he's a field side flanker, a Z receiver that's playing inside because they want to use that speed for the spacing. So they're forcing something. They're forcing that, square peg into a round hole, basically, is what's happening. I don't think, I think Quez makes sense more on teams where he would be the 4th receiving option or the first guy off the bench on the outside. I think that's really where Quez would make more sense. But they want to use the speed. That's why they got him where they got him. But I don't think Quez is a natural slot, personally. Jay said, just saying Big Dog knowing Barnett has 0 chance being in Philly next year, saving some cap would be a plus. He has 0 production anyways. Mr. Salmon said, Jordan Davis is too top heavy. He needs to focus on his lower body so he can squat and improve his lateral quickness. My guy Transistor said, love the live chats, Gate. Appreciate you, man. What's the latest with the co-host, Gate? So far, I'll be honest with you, man, after I get done these, I'm like doing things. I haven't really reached out to a lot of people to be real about it easy. It might just be one of those situations to where I might just throw it out to everybody that's in the community, and we might just revolve it within the community for the co-host thing. We might just have you guys that actually have the ability to do it. I know some of you guys are at work and you can't. You're just, you're listening. You can't necessarily come on and do that during this time. But for some of you guys that can, we might just do it that way. It's tough, man, because like my schedule's normally at night. Most of the guys I know, most of the guys I collaborate with and I talk with, most of their schedules are during the day. So it's one of those situations, unfortunately. Mr. said, I like Jordan more than Jalen just because the game comes too easy for Jalen. I think he might not continue to improve and work on his game. Luckily, Cox is mentoring them. General said, we should get Chin. He's young and can play in the slot. They probably play him at safety, I would think. You got guys right now that I think can play the slot. I think once they brought in Bradley Roby, you got a guy who's got plenty of experience playing the slot. It's just a matter, can you keep him healthy, right? Then you're looking at the fact that you got Sidney Brown that can play the slot if you needed him to. You got guys like Justin Evans. Justin Evans currently is a safety. He's playing safety for us, but he has played slot in the past. He did it last season actually for a few games. He plays a lot of slot reps. So, I mean, you definitely got some guys that can do it. It's just a matter of if they will, General. It's a matter of how they see it. But, yeah, Chen, we talked about Simmons, Chin, Buda Baker. I mean, there's definitely some big names at the safety position that have been thrown around. So, yeah. Easy said, I don't think there are slots with speed on the market. Yeah, I think Isaiah Rodgers has primarily played outside, with the Colts, but I think he has all the movement skills that you would look for in a slot. So I don't know if maybe that's the thought process with him. Easy is that maybe they're not looking to the future with him to play that type of role. I mean, I have a hunch that maybe that's what they're looking at. I don't know. I'm not in the building, Easy, that. So I don't know. But I mean, I do like when you look at the way that he moves, his lateral movement ability, he's a tough-nosed young man. He's definitely a guy who will come up and play those run fits, even though he's smaller. He's not scared to do that job. He's a guy I look at like next year. I don't know if he's going to get cleared from suspension this year, but next year, Isaiah Rodgers, that was a really good pickup by the Eagles. Factors in on your special teams. He could definitely factor in as the slot guy. I'm curious what they do with Zach McPherson. I'm really disappointed that Zach got that season-ending injury. It would have been very interesting to see what Zach McPherson could have done with the opportunity to play as a slot cornerback once Avonte went down. That was a very big missed opportunity, and I fear for Zach McPherson that may be that, what I'm saying? Like it just be, that may be it for him, unfortunately, because of the timing. Easy said, you meant receiver? I don't know. I mean, McCole Harbin's pretty fast, but like I said, I don't know if I'd consider him a natural slot. He could play the slot. I think he has the movement abilities to play the slot, but I think mostly he's been used as more of a flanker, kind of like, field side type player in his career. But I mean, McCole, I think would be more natural to it than Quez. But yeah, I get your point. I don't know anything. I don't know anyone off the top of my head either in terms of trade value. I mean, maybe there's a veteran on the market if they want to go that route, if they feel like it's really that big of a concern. I don't know how they feel about it, Easy. I don't know if they feel like it's that big of a concern because, I mean, we could, if you guys want to do a discussion like that, either tomorrow or like this upcoming week, I mean, I can break down the allocation of targets and go a little bit more in depth than I did in yesterday's video. I was really talking about the Jets matchup, so I didn't really lend a lot to our own, but I can go into like that snap distribution and we can go into all that stuff and take a look at it and just see like, I mean, how enticing is it for a guy to come here? Like, I mean, what are they looking for in terms of the role? What do they think they're going to get? You know what I mean? I am forever says, is there any concerns going into Sunday? Yeah, I think anytime you've beaten a team its entire existence, you got to be I'm a little concerned, man, because at some point that sucker's got to give. Like, they're going to eventually win a game against us. I just hope it's not Sunday. But also, I'll say that from a personnel standpoint, I heard that Slay's dealing with something. I heard Slay's dealing with something like with I don't know if it was an ankle or something. I heard we got a couple of guys that are going through a little bit right now. So I worry, not necessarily they missed the game, but I worry that if they're not 100% and you got a guy out there that can dice you up like Garrett Wilson can, who can definitely make you miss an open space and stuff like that, that makes me a little concerned if we're dealing with some nagging injuries out there in terms of the secondary. Antonio said, Mr. Sandman, totally disagree with that. Jalen will continue to work. Why wouldn't he? Aaron Donald was just line from this start and ended up one of the best all time. Daryl said, hit that like button. Appreciate you guys. Antonio said, listen to him talk about wanting to win every rep, and he gets mad at himself when he doesn't. I don't know if he meant it that way, though, Antonio. I think he meant like he's such a good player already that the ceiling ain't that far away as it is. You get what I'm saying, Antonio? I don't think that there's that much more that he can improve upon. Like, you take a guy like Moro Jamo, there's a lot of room to work and develop, right? But you take a guy like Jalen Carter, he's already so good. Like, it's really more so about consistency than it's going to be growing them even more. Like, I don't think there's that much growth left from, the player in himself. I think that's what he's saying. Jay said they don't even need to press the receivers with blitzes, bump and run. Will be good enough to disrupt the timing. Judy, but they love Quez and they like Oz. I like Oz too. I'd like to see Oz get. That was my point yesterday. Is I'm not trying to throw shade at Quez. I like Quez, man. I think Quez does have that's the point I was trying to make. I think Quez has a role on this team. Like, I do think that it is important to have a guy that can clear out routes. I think it's important to have a guy that can space out defenses. I do think that is a legitimate role on the offense. But I also think it's a little ridiculous that we kept, I think, Oz under 10 snaps or something like that. Like, no, like, Oz needs to play a little bit more. Like, Oz is a good player. There should be some stuff being carved out there. You're going to throw those little tunnel screens and stuff. Like, you're going to throw those little, bubble screens. I think Oz, and I think that, guys like Swift, I think those dudes are good at those. I think that they have a little shake to them. I think they've got a little bit more agility. I think their lateral movement skills are pretty good. But yeah, Easy said, I think it was Slay's knee. Yeah, you might be right. Easy. It might be knee. I think it was a couple of guys, right? That had some knee stuff going on. So that worries me a little bit. You know what I mean? Obviously, I don't want to go out there with dudes that are a little banged up and facing, dudes that can get deep on you. Like, I know the numbers didn't support some of the things we talked about, but they do got some guys out there like Lazard can get deep. Like Alan Lazard, like, he's a decent player. He doesn't have, that's the thing, is like Zach Wilson is the thing that makes me a little confident, right? I mean, he's not Aaron Rodgers in any shape, form, or way. If Aaron Rodgers was out there, I'd be a lot more concerned about this game. But I'm not sitting here trying to tell anybody that we, like Derek, or not Derek, right? Like Brandon Grant said on the, show on, look, any given Sunday, man, if you're out here thinking you can't get beat, you're going to get beat. Someone's going to take you. If you're out here thinking you ain't going to get beat, somebody eventually is going to get you. I think he's right. How do you feel with Robert Sala's 11 kisses comment? Gamesmanship or a low-key threat? I mean, well, it's both. It's gamesmanship, and he is threatening that they're going to try to rally to the football and tackle. I don't think he meant it like they're going to headhunt. I think some people took it like he was saying they were going to headhunt. That's not the vibe I got from that comment. I think his comment is that we're going to gang tackle. Like, we're going to pay our focus and our attention will be on Jalen Hurts. I think he's cueing you into the fact that they believe, rightfully so, Jalen Hurts is the key to stopping the consistency of this offense. With that said, it's not easy to do. Like, this team could beat you in so many different ways. That's the problem. Easy said if Allen doesn't play because they don't trust him with hands, routes, and ball tracking, why is Quez playing then? I don't know, Easy. I don't want to get into all that. I mean, spacing is why. Like we know why he's playing Easy. He's playing because he can clear routes. He's playing because if you let him run free, it's going to be a touchdown. I mean, but I get what you're saying. He's not particularly great at tracking the ball with the defender on him, especially when it's coming over shoulder. He's not great at doing that. I thought that there were times in 2021 where I saw a guy that was really good at climbing the ladder and getting the football in 2021. I think that's the bigger issue. I think he has not climbed the ladder for footballs in 22 and 23 so far. He used to be fairly good. Like 2021, I was quite impressed with what he was able to do there from that, in that instance. But we haven't seen that recently from him. And that's something that I don't know. I don't know what you do there, guys. I mean, there's a balancing act to making sure you keep this person, you keep things mentally correct with them. But in the same time, there's also the aspects of you cannot forsake your offense. I don't think Quez is a guy that I would try to work out of a rut per se. Like, if AJ's in a rut, you got to work AJ out of a rut. If Devontae's in a rut, you got to work Devontae out of a rut. If Goddard's in a rut, you got to work Goddard out of a rut. You don't got to work Quez out of a rut. You know what I'm saying? Like, Quez got to work it himself. You know what I mean? Like, that's a little different. So with Quez, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, I look at it as this way. It's a very direct schematic thing with him. And he's a very small part of the distribution or the allocation, if you will, of the targets. Like he's not being targeted that much. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's not one of the big three, to be fair. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Salmon said Antonio Holmes, Aaron Donald is an undersized defensive tackle and a gym rat with a chip on his shoulder. Jalen Carter still has baby fat and absolutely dominated every level of football. He will get complacent. Will he get complacent? My bad, man. I didn't mean to say that as a direct. Allen can clear routes too with his speed. At this point, it's just politics. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's just politics. Easy. I get that Quez is not exactly the greatest route runner. I get that Quez is not exactly exceptional at tracking the football, but that doesn't mean that he's still not better at those things than Allen too. You know what I mean? Like there is something here. Like, you know what I mean? I can't 100% say that, but I do think that if Quez went down, you know, if something happened and Quez went down and I had to pull Allen into the game to fulfill that role to an extent, mind you, you're talking about Allen's not going to come in and snap for snap count be what Quez was. They're not going to do that. But I trust that he could clear routes. Like I trust he could do that. I trust that if they didn't carry with him on a clear, like, you know, say they're running dagger and they just don't, they all bite down on that in breaking route and they're leaving him. Like I trust he could track that football the same as Quez can. You know what I mean? Like we saw it in the preseason. I know the preseason, but if you're running free, it doesn't matter if it's preseason, regular season. If you're running absolutely free, I don't think Quez has been exceptional at the screen game stuff. I don't think Allen can be that much worse. I mean, how much worse is that going to get outside of maybe losing the football? That's the only other level that could be any worse than what we've seen so far. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's arguments to be made here that, you know, but it is what it is. Easy. It's a very small portion of our offense. You know what I mean? Like, you know, to me, if they like the player, they trust the player, it is what it is. It's not a huge part of our offense. You know, I mean, the schematics of it matter, but the target allocation aspect of it, we're talking a very small portion. Isaiah Alexander said, how can Eagles improve their pass defense and red zone offense or defense? I can't tell. I think it might mean offense there. I think their pass defense is going to improve as just players come back. You know, I think that we got cut up in one game against Washington with really bad communication because there's just so many pieces that were out, right? I mean, it was bad. We got cut up a few times in New England, right? There were some moments where we were getting carved up because we got a little complacent. We got a little lax defensively because we had such a big lead there. I think with Minnesota, like, I mean, come on, man. They got good receiving core. They got a really good receiving core. You know, Osborne, Addison, Jefferson. Now Jefferson's down for 4 games. That's going to change them. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know what they'll do in terms of outside of just the experience, man. The experience, I think, is gonna add a lot to it. They may try to upgrade at safety. You know, that might be something they look into at the trade deadline, Isaiah. That could be something they do. But to be real with you, Slay and Bradbury just need to play better. These guys are better than they're showing on the season. And they have not played particularly well. I'm not going to lie. Those two guys have not been very good on the season. They've been average at best. Odissel said, Gates, have you seen Eagles creator Murph from Top Billing? Guy's phenomenal in film breakdown. You need to link, man. Would be awesome. Hit that like, boys. No, I don't. I personally, I don't know him. I don't think I've seen his content, but I'll check it out, man. I mean, to be fair, Odissel, there's a lot of content creators and like, it's hard to keep up with all of them, man. You know what I mean? But no, I don't think maybe he has. Sometimes like people come across your screen and you saw them, but you just don't recognize the channel name. So it's possible that I have. I don't know. I'll have to go look it up though. You said it's Top Billing. Let me write it down, man. Top Billing. All right. I'll take a look at him, man. Easy said politics and overthinking definitely exist. If Gainwell didn't get injured, would we still see Swift come off the bench? I don't know. It's a fair question. I don't know. It probably depends upon the way that they judge the production in that game. Easy. I mean, I don't know. It's a tough, we're getting into those, alternative universe kind of questions. I don't know. Quez looked hungry in 21. I haven't seen that guy in a while. I Am Forever said, do you start Dean if he's 100% healthy? That's really tough, man, because I'm not in there for the practices. I'm not in there for the film room sessions. I'm not in there to see the complexity of how they're evaluating these three guys and who should start. So I can only really judge the film, which is a big indicator, right? But I mean, even when I'm judging the film, like I got to judge the fact of just how much of an impact the defensive line has on the linebackers' play, and the fact that any competent linebacker is probably going to look pretty good in this system, to be fair. Now, I do think that if you get really inexperienced guys that are just really unsure about where they're supposed to be in terms of their drops and stuff, then yeah, or they don't see things with their eyes very well from a run defense standpoint, sure, that's going to be a problem no matter how good the line play is. But that's a little hard to discuss it. What I think is probably the determining factor here is, do they want to free Reed Blankenship up from that green dot of play calling? Because the defense was conceived, right, at its inception, the way that we put it together in 2023, it was supposed to be Nicholas Morrow was supposed to be your Will originally. Nakobe Dean was going to be your Mike, and then Nakobe Dean was going to be the guy who handled play calling. Obviously, if they're going to change that back, then it's Dean's going to be your starter. Like he's your green dot staying in the game. That's the first part of it. Now, if they're going to keep the green dot where it's at, then I think you get into a much more complex conversation about rotation at linebacker between, Nicholas Morrow, Zach Cunningham, and Nakobe Dean, and how you allocate those snaps. I don't know how they're going to play it out, man. I honestly, I don't know how they're going to play it out. I think that they have a really good situation on their hand to where, look, Nicholas Morrow lost his standing. He lost his ground, right? Nakobe Dean locked everything up in terms of the mic, and then they weren't happy with anything outside of Nakobe Dean. So then they brought in Zach Cunningham, and they brought in who else was it? They brought somebody else in too. I can't remember now. There's a big name too. Why am I forgetting it? They brought somebody else in, and Nicholas Morrow lost his standing as a Will. Got signed to the practice squad because I don't think he was terrible. I just don't think he was what they thought inside of training camp and stuff. It might have been that he was still catching up to speed with the playbook. We don't really know. You know what I mean? But once he cracked the lineup, he's been pretty dang good. I mean, once he cracked the lineup, now to be fair, I don't think he's playing a lot of Will. I think he's playing a lot of Mike, and maybe that's the difference. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, yeah. Easy said Niners playing Vikings without Jefferson is really lucky. Yeah, I mean, people talking crap about that Vikings game, but truth be told, we struggled to maintain the lead on them. We built that huge lead on them, and they're just tough to defend because of how explosive that offense is. The minute you try to start exchanging clock with them, like they're complicated to try to exchange clock with because they can score in bunches fast. And we saw that Kansas City escaped that game. I'm going to be real. Kansas City, they escaped that game. I'm not going to say what would have happened if they got the ball down on the goal line, but they should have been facing a goal-to-goal situation. Like, it should have been a goal to go. That was definitely pass interference. And then my man took his helmet off on the field. Like, I'm just saying. Like, I think they definitely escaped that game. Kansas City did. John said, why do you think there's been so many communication issues in the secondary? New coordinator, all the injuries, too complicated the playbook? No, injuries is the reason. It's young guys. You're playing young guys, and you're playing guys out of position. We're playing Bradbury in a place he doesn't play because we needed a veteran guy. And then, to me, as soon as I saw that they put in a veteran player in Bradley Roby, you saw the communication stuff. I mean, immediately got better. I'm not saying that the defense couldn't be taken because I think that they, sometimes your protection doesn't hold up to the route development, right? But Tutu Atwell had a play in the second half. There was definitely a play that could have been capitalized on the second half to Tutu Atwell, but the protection didn't hold up long enough to really get it there. And, so I'm not going to say like everything was perfect. It was vastly improved. The minute we put a veteran in there at the nickel and we moved, Bradbury back outside and Slay back outside, and we kind of started meshing up, we saw that second half, man, they played pretty well. Eagles fan said, yeah, top billing is really good. Top billing is his name gate. I got it written down. I got it, guys. Mr. Sandman said, if I was Roseman, I would build the defense around Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and Nakobe Dean for the next 10 years. Just fill the rest of the defense with mid-level contracts on rookie deals. What would you do outside? Because I still think you need outside corners. You know what I mean? I don't know if, like, I think people are being, Mr. Salmon, I think people are being too harsh on Josh Jobe, to be real. I don't think he was particularly great in the games, but I don't think he was as bad as people are stating, to be honest either. I thought he held up adequately for an inexperienced, undrafted guy coming in and have to play very pivotal moments for a couple of games. I don't think he was as bad as people think. I mean, we saw Slay and Bradbury got beat last week too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes there's a little bit of an overreaction there, but I don't know if they're solidified on the outside. Now, you could say, like, hey, they got a 21-year-old they're developing out there. That's going to be the guy after those dudes walk away. And then they'll figure out if it's going to be Jobe, Eli Ricks, whatever on the other side, or they'll figure out in the draft. I'm just curious because I do think that they still, outside, the way this defense works, it's got to be in cohesion with one another, right? There's got to be some, lack of better term, some like chemistry there between the secondary and that pass rush. They got to be in sync. That's the word I'm looking for. In sync with one another. Easy said, do you know the Honest NFL Fan? I think I've seen his a couple of times. He does a lot of like voiceover, right? On his videos. I think I've seen him a couple of times, if it's the guy I'm thinking. It does like a lot of voiceover. Easy. The best player in the draft should have been number one pick, gets past 9 NFL teams, doesn't have a chip plus proving college coaches who dogged him wrong. Wait until he loses baby fat and stays in the gym. Scary. I believe Mario is ranked number 2 in the NFL. If Dean is to play, he has to get some snaps this weekend, not when we play Miami. It depends. Like I said, General, I don't want to judge the foot injury because it's a little ambiguous. Only thing I know about it is he hurt his foot. I heard something that said it wasn't a Liz Frank, but it's in that area of a strain, just not a fracture. Liz Frank's normally a fracture. But yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what they do. Like, all I can do is really react to what they do, guys. I have no say in the rotation at all. I hate the Chiefs, man. The new Patriots getting carried by the league. Miles Jack, thank you, True. I was like, man, why am I forgetting this person? Like, he was a pretty big name, too. And I'm like, I cannot remember his name for nothing. Yeah, Miles Jack retired. That's what it was. Mr. Salmon said Morrow got those 3 sacks because Desai sent him on a blitz. Untouched. A lot of fans think he just got those sacks on his own. Trey say at Gay Cities, I cannot stand the media hype of the 49ers who we destroyed last year. Also, the media keeps saying we would have lost if Purdy was not hurt. Haters. Yeah, I don't think they were winning that game. I'll be real, Trey. I got a difference of opinion with them. I don't think San Fran was winning that game when Joe Montana came out the tunnel. Like, I think that they were clearly going to get overwhelmed in the trenches. Now, do I think that it would have been as easy as a layup as it was? No. I think there would have, it would have been a little bit more of a struggle, but yeah, like, no, I don't think they were winning that game. I agree with you. Now, I think that San Francisco 49ers team is pretty dang good. I'm not going to sit here and throw shade at them. I think they're a really talented roster. I think they play tough, but they ain't played us yet. So I'm waiting to see. Like I said, we play them like week 13 or something. We play them like December 3rd, whenever that is. So, I mean, look, we'll get a chance. We're going to get our chance. We'll be stacked up together. Bryce. That's it. Miles Jack came in and then retired. Laugh out loud. Yeah. It's like, man, I can't remember his name, but I knew it was a big name. Dean is the new Maddox. It's why he fell to the 3rd round, injured in camp and injured again. Can't trust him. I don't know, man. Like the way he injured his foot easy. I don't know, man. That might be a little bit of an overreaction, man. That's not. Yeah, that's like you just stepped the wrong way over someone's foot, man. Like, that can happen to anybody, man. I don't think that's like an underlying like issue with the skeletal system or anything, or muscle accumulation or like anything like that. Like, I just think that was just a really bad draw of the luck there. I mean, you just stepped the wrong way on someone's foot. Eagles fan said Howie isn't keeping 11 draft picks next year. He's going to do something. He's done it every year. Easy said Honest NFL was an assistant coach for the Eagles, I believe. He's on Twitter. Should check him out. Yeah, there's a guy on YouTube, I think that I could be wrong, Easy. I could be confused. Like I said, there's a lot of content creators, so it's really difficult to keep up with everybody, Easy, but there's a guy that does like voiceover. But yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look it up, man. But yeah, I'll check him out on Twitter too. Mr. Samuel said, Gates, I think you look at Joe from a coach's perspective. His technique is there, and he's where he's supposed to be. I think he gets manhandled by NFL-level athletes. Well, I mean, he's, gym time. Gym time, Mr. Sandman. I mean, you put on 60 pounds of muscle. We just need 5 pounds from this man. We just need 5 pounds, sir. We need 5 pounds. 5 pounds of strength. Yeah, he's aggressive, too. I think that's part of it, Mr. Sandman, is he plays very aggressively out there. So I think that exposes him sometimes to that. But I also think as the game slows down a little bit for him, I think some of it, too, from just looking at it from what I saw, Mr. Sandman, is that he's just it's a hair late on some things. He's a hair late to get into the disrupted. But I do think he's got very good instincts to always try to get his hands in. He's just missing it. He's got the instincts. The instincts are definitely there. I actually like him. I think he's decent. I don't know if he's ever going to be like a secondary type corner. Like he's going to be your boundary corner. I don't know if that's really going to be his role in the NFL. I don't know if he'll be a starter at that, but I do think that he's a very, very good kind of like break in case of emergency first off the bench type corner. I don't want to say third corner because some people can mix it up with nickel, but you get what I'm saying. Like the first guy off the bench kind of on the outside to play. I like him in that role a lot. I think he's really good in that role. Trey said, tell me who on the 49ers in the interior can handle Jalen Carter. We're going to see, Trey. I don't think anyone can personally, but we're going to see. I mean, every offensive line has struggled with that task. Do you have Job's stats? I like Job too. He has talent. I can look at him real quick. Let me see. Go to PFF. I'll pull him up real fast. Let's go by player. Josh Job. Boom. All right, guys. Let me pull it up. I got to go because I got it on snap count. So let me go to defense. I might have to go to the grade chart though. So let's see. Week 2 he played. So week 1 he played 8 snaps. Week 2 he played 58. Week 3 he played 27. Week 4 he played 68. Then he didn't play last week. So coverage, he was targeted twice in week 1, didn't give up a reception. In week 2, he was targeted 10 times, gave up 6 receptions for 106 yards. That was his first like really true meaningful snaps though, and they got to him a little bit. I'm not gonna lie in that game. Week 3, he was targeted 6 times, gave up 4 receptions for 27 yards. Not too bad. I think everyone remembers that week 2 game because he got beat for a couple touchdowns. I think that's why it's sticking out in everyone's minds. Week 4, he was targeted 6 times, gave up 3 receptions for 35 yards, but one of those was a touchdown. So, yeah, I mean, as a young kid, it was up and down, what you would expect, right? It was up and down performance, Antonio, but overall, I think there's something there to develop. I think there's something there with this young man. I think he's decent. Like I said, I don't know if he's going to be a starter in the league, Antonio. I don't want to put that out there, but I do think that he's a quality. He's got the potential to be a boundary in this league, but I also think he's got the potential to be a very, very good first off the bench guy. Trey Brown said, I think Carter is better than Michael his rookie year. I think we are dealing with an all-time great player. Sorry for me being so excited, laugh out loud. Oh, it's all good, man. Yeah, I think we're definitely dealing with a real impact player. He's truly an impact player. I mean, he's going to have a lot of impact on games. All right, guys, I got to jump off of here, man. It's 11 o'clock. Unfortunately, I got some things I got to do around the house before I got to run into work. But I appreciate y'all, man. We were rocking for about almost an hour and a half, pretty close to it. Hey, guys, we'll be back tomorrow. We're going to do this again around 9:30 tomorrow. And I don't know what the topic's going to be yet, man, but I'll think of something, guys. I appreciate y'all so much, and I'll see y'all tomorrow morning. Appreciate y'all.